All right, cool. All right.
Kidding me?
Me too. All right, so when we do our hand wrap, one of the most important things is that we give wrist support and separation between our fingers, okay? So when we start with our palm up, we put this loop right here, and you go towards your palm. I go 2 and 2 because that's easy for me. You don't have to worry about if it's backwards or right ways right away. What you go right here is 2 and 2. So I go 1 around, 1, 2. That's it, snug, not tight. Now I keep my hand, you flare, like I flare here, and you say flare, more flare, more flare. I think that's from a movie or something. But that's the idea. You do that so it's as tense as possible because any looseness is going to create unnecessary tension. I broke my hand in one fight, one time ever in my whole entire career. Guess who wrapped my hand? One time ever. I was like, I'll wrap my own hand for this fight. That hand snapped in the first round. Why? And I knew, look, I learned the hard way. Because I wrapped this too tight. I remember it on that, and what happened was it gave right there. So now I had a plate in, broke the plate, and the plate's out. Now if you see it, just never break there again. But the idea is I learned the hard way of how to wrap hands. I did it wrong. Guess how many of my fighters, out of 400 fighters, I walked to the ring? 0. Ugh, frustrating, frustrating because they hit like idiots, and I think I hit better. Let's start over.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Okay.
So with the hand up, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the loop there. We're gonna go through the hand. 1, 2. And again, don't worry about if it's right or left because at the end we'll adjust it. And then we go 1, 2. So it's all about wrist support. Does that make sense? So when we get in there, we got all about that supporting that wrist right there. That little point right there, feel it? I don't know if you heard that. That right there is what you strain. When you're boxing, you don't have good reps, it'll snap right there. And that right there is the most common wrist injury right there in boxing when you're doing the pads like you were doing. Does that make sense? It's because it happens is because you go hit and it goes right there. The most common injury, and it lasts for 6 months. Does that make sense? All right, so 2 and 2. So now we go 2 and 2, and I'll do, because you have long wraps, it's nice. I'll do 2 sets. And now when I come up here, I want to go here, long ways, just like the tendon goes. I'll go 1, 2, and it doesn't have to be tight, and 3. Now, what that does, a lot of people don't realize, is what that does, that creates that little separation.
Yeah.
What happens, you make a fist, there. So what happens is when you're punching, these little knuckles shift. They're just slightly, but it's enough to cause a little bit of damage. Again, it's the same way I wrapped them for 2 decades. The only time I broke my hands, I wrapped it myself for a fight. So now I'm gonna go back down now. So that's it, 2 and 2, 2 and 2, 1, 2, 3, long ways, and then I clean it up, snug. 1, 2, 1, 2, and just a little bit of pull, not 1, 2, but you'll notice what I do is I don't go wrist, hand, wrist, palm. When I go over here, it's kind of like a little bit of like I'm trying to kind of catch that right there.
Yeah, okay.
A little bit. So I'm not going wrist, palm. I'm actually trying to catch it just a little bit to give it a little more support where that most common injury is. So now when I have about this much left, I go, okay, cool. So when I have about that much left, now I have to give the wrist a support. So see how much I have here?
Yep.
So now I'll do what's called layering. So now I'm going to start as high as I can on the wrist, and now snug, snug, and now what I'll do is I'll layer it. And just barely sneak it up. And this way I go a little bit tighter because you're trying to minimize, and right here's why I just turn it. That's fine. I'll turn it. What I'm trying to do when I'm with my wraps, the point of it is not to give a pad so you can hit with your knuckles. That's not why you want a pad. And when I fight, I don't want a pad here. I put the minimal. I want them to feel those knuckles. So when you're doing your hand drop, it's not about putting a pad here. That is not what you want. That is your weapon. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's do the other one. So, all right, so now I'll explain it again. Cool. All right, that makes sense? Cool. So now flip it over. Same idea. It's this side down.
Okay.
It says it right there. It makes it easy.
Yeah.
So we'll go here. Oh, again, long ways. So again, the whole point is to give a little bit of palm, but more about wrist support. See how you just adjusted it? See how you just did that for me?
Yeah.
What that did is now if I was going to go on, that's great. But I want this first, that was good that you did that, all right? That first pull I want this way.
Okay.
Not down. It's all about what you're trying to do is go long ways and with the tendons and the fingers. So a lot of people will do like short ones, they'll do short ones. No, you want every wrap as long as possible. So we'll go here, we'll go again. So here's the numbers. 1, 2, boom, snug.
Yep.
Now flare. There. That creates all that tension. So it's gonna go lighter, but you're not gonna create too much, so it's flared out. Okay, 1, 2. All right, now look at my palm because I went that way. I'm gonna go just nice and loose. 1, kind of pull it between the fingers, right around the thumb, long like the tendons. Pull it through, long right there, boom, and then 3. There's snug. Now it kind of looks kind of rough. I know it looks kind of rough, but that's the idea. when it looks a little rough, what that does is when you go hard, it actually creates not a little bit of pad, but all that stuff kind of closes up and it leaves a little bit of slack, creates more tension. All right, so 1, 2, and now here's where I'll clean this part up. So see, I'll go here, and that's where I want to kind of get that clean. Boom, 1, 2, boom, 1, 2, 1, 2, snug. And now I have about that much left, so I'm looking at going, and once you get great at this, you do it with one hand, but now I go, okay, I got a little bit more, I'm gonna go one more. And now I kind of say, okay, now that's about right. Now again, I'll go here, high as I can on the wrist, boom, boom, and now I'll layer it back over.
Okay.
And right now in this part,
What about that right there? It's kind of sand through.
you can make a fist.
Does it matter?
Not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not about looks. It's not about having. I mean, I can stick my finger in there.
Yeah.
What I want is separation between the knuckles.
Yep.
Right there. What I want is I want to keep this thumb from going back and creating that normal wrist strain that happens most commonly.
Okay.
The third thing I want to do is I make a fist. I want to stop from this here. That's the other way that you're going to get it. So
Yeah.
it's either going to the injuries that come from someone who's just doing fitness boxing, or this strain here where they hit this thumb and this thumb goes back, or they hit the pads wrong, and because they don't have enough here, this happens.
Yeah.
That's one of the worst things. That injury and that injury are two of the worst things that can happen. As far as breaking your hands doing boxing, if you're doing boxing on the pads, the bag, and you break your hand, you've done something massively wrong. I mean, you have to brawl so hard. I mean, in MMA gloves, you know, we don't break our hands. It's not common. So if you're hitting soft on soft, you don't, especially with a big pillow on it.
Right.
Cool?
Cool.
All right, cool.
Got it.
Jump on the chair.